Assalamu alaikum. If we're honest, this tragedy wasn't unpredictable, but it was preventable. Every time something like this happens, we repeat the same words. It's tragic. They were so young. But here's the question we keep avoiding. How many times does this have to happen before we admit we are failing our own youth? Because if we don't ask the uncomfortable questions, we will never reach the root of this problem. And without honesty, nothing changes. Let's be clear about the facts. A car traveling at 122 miles per hour, modified to deliver double its original power. A vehicle that has already flipped weeks earlier, and warnings ignored, an obsession with speed normalized. The result, 3 teenagers dead, killed by someone they went to school with. A father killed, others left with life-changing injuries. So we need to ask ourselves, how many more funerals, how many more warnings do we need? We see it on our streets every day, residential roads that have been turned into racetracks, overtaking at insane speeds. Is the youth sometimes thrill-seeking, joyriding, sometimes on drugs, balloons, alcohol, and sometimes it escalates to knives, violence, and prison cells. Ask the youth workers, ask any probation officer, they will tell you the same uncomfortable truth. Our young people are overrepresented in youth offending institutions and in prisons. And that should shake every parent, every elder, every mosque committee. But clearly, the message isn't getting through. So the real question is not why this happened, it's why it keeps happening. So who holds responsibility? Because this didn't come out of nowhere. The car was heavily modified, far more powerful than standard, extreme speed, performance culture, loud engines, not hidden, not secret. It was visible, shared online, celebrated, normalized, liked. Clear warnings, a serious crash weeks earlier, a car flipped, a known appetite for speed. At that point, we have to ask, what more warning was required? Where was the intervention? Where was the adult willing to say this must stop now? Not advisory, but firm action. Parents, this is an uncomfortable question, but it must be asked. Teenagers out near 1 a.m., high-powered vehicles, no supervision, no boundaries, and that should trouble us. And what about our institutions? What about our massages? When will our massages show the moral courage to speak about real issues? It's about prevention, guidance, early, clear, and unapologetic, even if it's unpopular. But our mosques still stuck in the past with their heads in the sand. And yes, Western media glamorizes speed and risk. That influence is real, but we cannot outsource responsibility. We cannot blame everything on the West, because when the warning signs are in front of us, our silence is our complicity. And when tragedy strikes, we rush to sympathy. Really? Sympathy without accountability is not prevention. Sympathy without accountability, after the tragedy, there's always an outpouring of grief. Understandable. That is the response, human. And it's understandable, nobody should deny that pain, but we need to be honest, sympathy is not enough. We heard admissions of reckless speed being a concern, acknowledgements that people close were worried. And it will be forever a heavy burden to carry that weight. But sincerity afterwards does not erase our silence, our inaction before the tragedy when we decided to ignore warnings. And what will change before the next tragedy, I ask? If someone drunk drove and killed others, we wouldn't say, oh, they were so young. We would clearly say that the behavior was unacceptable, dangerous, and it had to be stopped earlier. Reckless speed is no different. Ignoring warning signs is no different. So we need action, not just words. Prevention requires courage, and we cannot keep waiting until it's too late. This was a chain of ignored warnings gone unstopped. We cannot continue. We cannot keep outsourcing responsibility to society, to others, while refusing to clean our own homes. If parents won't intervene, who will? If mosques won't address difficult real-world issues, what role are they actually playing? Prevention requires courage, and courage means action, not empty statements or checklist exercises. For parents, stop funding the dangerous behavior. Take accountability of your children. Youth wandering out at midnight is not taking responsibility. Souped up cars is not taking responsibility. Stop talking empty statements and take firm responsibility and actions to bring your youth into control. And for mosques, youth leaders, move on from your abstract sermons and for God's sake start to address real issues. Your local youth are into drugs, crime, prisons, dangerous driving, and you keep discussing some abstract topic? Tell me how many of youth are in youth offenders institutions. Is the rate increasing or decreasing for your community? Tell me substance abuse figures for your local community. Just like you publish and announce every £5 donation, so you should know and take responsibility for every crime being committed by your youth, your community, as their tarbiyah is your responsibility. And for the wider community, call out this reckless behavior early, privately first, but firmly and respectfully, and publicly if needed, because silence protects no one. This is about prevention. Silence is not compassion, it's negligence. And yes, society and government also have a role. The glorification of speed, modified cars and reckless behavior has consequences, and regulation must keep pace with reality. We need more education for young people about driving safely. But let's be clear, external influence does not absolve internal responsibility. Bolton was inevitable. It was ignored warnings, soft accountability, and a community afraid to speak. And if we don't change, we already know what the next headline will be. The question is, will we act before it's written?